Disclaimer. The comments made in this video are intended solely for entertainment purposes and are not intended to harm or offend anyone.
For every family court case seeking a fair resolution, there's one filled with conflict and drama, starting with Mr. Wood and Ms. Town's struggle over supervised visitation and child support.
You married Mr. Towns on April 14th of 2015. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you divorced from him sometime in either December of 2019 or January of 2020?
Yes, ma'am.
We don't have an exact date. Is that correct?
Correct.
What county was the divorce in?
Montgomery.
Okay.
And then you married Mr. Wood on March 14th of 2020. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, that was March 14th of 2020 again?
Yes,
March
ma'am.
14th. Sometime in January 4th of 2022, the two of you separated. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now,
When did they separate? I'm sorry.
January 4th of 2022. Okay.
I'm not sure. I realized there was a presumed father. Give me one moment. So in 2015, she married Mr. Towns.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you divorced Mr. Towns in either December of 2019 or January of 2020. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And
and
did the
Bristol
divorce
was-
decree reference Bristol?
He signed a paper in the hospital whenever she was born saying that she was not his. And that was also done during the divorce proceeding. I know because it got pushed, like the divorce got pushed because we had to sign a paper on that.
So did Mr. Wood sign that paper as well?
Yes. I'm pretty sure, yes.
Okay.
And as far as I
can't-
know, we don't have an acknowledgement of paternity on that child. So we did DNA.
And your divorce decree didn't do anything else with regard to Bristol?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Because like I said, he had went to the hospital when she was born and signed a paper stating that that was not his child.
Bristol was born when you were married to Mr. Towns, and then you divorced Mr. Towns. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And even though we don't have copies of those papers, that if it was an acknowledgement of paternity, we didn't find it. We did DNA testing, correct?
I could look that up if you'd like. I have access to Montgomery County right next to me. I think I remember you all from when we transferred your case, to be honest.
I mean, as long as we have the.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know that it's necessary. Okay.
We've got the DNA test results, Your Honor. I think we're good. Then you got married to Mr. Wood, and then a little over a year later, you had Wyatt. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. He's born in what, April of 21?
Yes.
Who did Bristol and Wyatt live with?
Me.
When did you and Mr. Wood cease living together? Sometime in January of 2022?
Yes.
Okay. And since that time, has Mr. Wood seen the children?
Yes.
When did he see the children?
He saw them. I don't know his specific dates, but I know that he has saw them twice in person, and he's had FaceTime visits with them. I don't know exactly how many.
Do you think it's in the children's best interest to go with Mr. Wood right now for a whole weekend out to West Texas?
No.
Do you think it would be okay for him to build up with some supervised visitation, and then for
Yes.
say 6 visits, and then 4 hours, and then build that up? And once he finishes all those, he'd be able to take them out to West Texas if he visited with him out there?
As long as they were brought back in a timely manner, and that's what whatever we need to do.
Now, how are your children covered for health insurance?
Could I just clarify that? Is she asking for any supervised or just starting with stair step?
I'm starting. I would like to start with supervised visitation, just because Wyatt is so little, and there hasn't been many visits between now and then. Just a chance to get him used to being around them.
And once he is no longer supervised, he has family in the area. Is that true?
I'm not aware of where his family is at.
Okay. But when he's no longer supervised, then as long as he didn't go all the way back out to West Texas until the standard visitation started, you'd be okay with that?
Yes.
And if he went with his family for 4 hours and then brought him back, you'd be good.
Yes.
Or went with him all day with his family and then overnight, you'd be good with that as well?
That would be after, that would be the stages, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I'm just making sure I'm understanding.
First visits would be for 4 hours supervised. Then
Yes, ma'am.
after that, there would be visits for 4 hours unsupervised.
Okay.
And then visits after that would be from 9 to 6 on one day. Okay.
Okay.
And after that, the visits would be say from 9 a.m. on Saturday to 6 p.m. on Sunday. Does that make the stages understandable?
Yeah.
Now, do you want your children to visit with their father?
Yes, I do.
Do you have safety concerns if he knows your address?
I don't. I have concern with behavior issues. As far as physical, no. I just want everything to be kosher for my children.
Okay. Are you requesting back child support or to start from here forward?
I am requesting back child support. Yes.
So from when y'all split up in early January of 2022 until now, has Mr. Wood given you any money for the support of your children?
In total, he is giving me $600 since we have split up.
And that's been over the last, approximately 18 months?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you kept him from visiting his children?
In the recent months, yes, I have, due to actions.
Okay. And how long has it been that you've kept him from visiting with the children?
The last time that I spoke with them would be this past year on Christmas.
You last spoke to him in Christmas time? Not you?
Yes, he spoke to them this past Christmas.
No, I did not.
So you're going to get a chance to speak. I want to hear from both of you, but I can only focus on one person's side at a time.
I would pass this witness. I would call Mr. Wood. Will you please state your name?
Zane Wood.
Now you are Bristol's and Wyatt's father. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you are not requesting DNA testing on Wyatt. Is that also correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you were married during the time that Wyatt was conceived and born, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you think they agree on child support, and what was that amount?
$19 an hour and 40 hours is $32.93.33 gross a month.
Okay.
And that comes to he has one other child, so that's living with him.
Mm-hmm.
And so that comes to child support of $610 a month and $100 a month towards government health insurance. So I misspoke. The other issue is back child support, whether that is.
What about conservatorship? Do they agree on that?
Let me flesh that out, Your Honor. I'm not sure that I believe
Okay.
they do. Yes. It's my understanding that you are in agreement with the $610 a month child support beginning October 1st and
Yes.
medical support of $100 beginning October 1st.
Yes, ma'am.
With the two of you being joint managing conservators, with Ms. Towns being the primary conservator. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. May I also ask that real quickly of Ms. Towns, Your Honor?
Yeah, and just to be clear, what is the no residency restriction, some residency restriction? What are they agreeing to?
He lives out in West. Mr. Wood, where do you live?
Midland.
You were just asking Texas for residency restriction?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, may I ask Ms. Towns?
Yes, you may.
Ms. Towns, are you?
For the supervised visitations, that's going to be here, correct?
I have not ruled on it
Well,
yet,
no.
ma'am. I'm still listening to evidence.
We're not
I'm
talking
just-
about the
I'm just trying to
visitation yet.
see if you, and it's okay either way. I'm not trying to pressure you into making agreements, but if you have agreements, I don't want to then make a ruling that varies from your agreements if I think they're okay too, because sometimes there's a few options that are fine.
I'm
And
sorry.
so I'm listening carefully to what you're all saying, and it's making me wonder if you have agreements. So I just need to know what is and isn't agreed to,
Okay.
and then I can move forward and make whatever
I'm
rulings I
sorry.
need to. So either way, it's fine with me. If nothing's in agreement, that's okay. I'm not at all trying to pressure you. I just
Okay.
want to know what I'm listening for and what I'm ruling on, and kind of where you all began this too. So it just affects my ruling in general.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Ms. Towns,
It's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
you've heard the child support of $610 a month and $100 towards medical based on $19 an hour. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, your only question was back child support. Is that correct?
Yes. I don't even know how that works.
Now, as far as the two of you being joint managing conservators, with you being the primary conservator to establish the residency of your child, are you okay with that being within Texas, anywhere in Texas?
Yes.
So as far as that, you and Mr. Wood are on the same page.
Yes.
Okay. The only questions that we have then would be back child support and visitation. Is that right?
Yes.
Or are you okay with your address being in the order?
They know my address already, so it doesn't matter to me. My address can be in the order.
But she did express some safety concerns. I'm not sure what they are.
I do have safety concerns with that, but it's not safety. I just don't want a bunch of craziness. They already know my address. They have it already. He does. Mr. Wood does.
But you might move. Do you have concerns at that point?
No, I don't want my address in the thing. I don't.
Okay, so that's an issue.
You say simply because you don't want the craziness. Is there anything specific with safety?
No, there's no physical. No.
Your Honor, I would again pass this witness.
Mr. Wood has been struggling to establish contact with Ms. Towns regarding their children. His main concern is the safety and well-being of the kids, especially since Ms. Towns has a felony warrant for her arrest. This complicates the situation, as he worries about the implications if she were to be arrested during a traffic stop, potentially disrupting the children's lives.
Okay, you may call your next witness.
Do you have an issue if she doesn't want her address in the court order? Do you want her address?
My only issue is I need to know where my kids are. I mean, that's where they're living and who they're living with. You know, like I said, you know, she's got a felony warrant for her arrest. Walker County just contacted me not 2 months ago, you know, asking where her whereabouts are. I'm kind of concerned about my children because she hasn't let me have any kind of contact with them in over a year. It's been almost going on 2 years now.
Well, Mr. Wood, you did say that y'all split up in January of 22, which is not 2 years ago.
No, ma'am, I was 21.
Before your child was born?
I've got.
Was it before Wyatt was born?
No, it was after, but
because he was born in April of 21.
I mean, it's been over a year and a half since we had split up. I haven't got to talk. I haven't got to see my kids since not last Father's Day, but the year before that. I haven't got to talk to my kids since Christmas of not last year, but the year before that.
But y'all were still living together at that point, correct?
No, we were not.
You said you split up on January 2nd of 22.
I have pictures and screenshots and everything of when the last time I saw my kids.
Let's go with it. Let's go with it this way. Okay. Your son was born in April of 21. Then y'all were still together that following Christmas. And shortly after New Year's, y'all separated. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Does that make it simpler?
Yeah.
Okay. So that would have been January of 22. And so you saw him in Father's Day of 22, right after that. Is that correct?
Correct.
And
what about the other child? Did you see both of them or just?
I got to see both of them.
Okay.
Did you take them off with you, or did you just see them at Miss Town's house?
My daughter spent the night with me. That was it.
And after that, you visited with them on Christmas, or you didn't visit with them the following Christmas?
No, I got a FaceTime with them, and that was the last time I got to speak to them.
Were you at that point when you FaceTime with them? Were you living in West Texas?
No.
And you have one other child, is that correct? That's with you right now?
Correct.
Does that child live with you?
Yes.
Miss Town said you paid her over the last approximately 18 months. You've paid her $600. Do you have any reason to dispute that, or do you think you've given her more money than that?
That number sounds about right.
And was there a reason you didn't give her any support for your children during that time period?
Uh, because she refused to let me see them or let me talk to them or have any kind of contact with me. I didn't even know how to send her money.
Okay.
I've been doing everything I'm trying to do to have contact with my children and be there for my children. My daughter's birthday just passed. I wasn't even allowed to talk to her on her birthday because I don't know why. I mean, this has been going on and going on and going on. And I would really like to speak to my children, know that they're okay, know what the environment they're in. I don't know anything about what's going on in their life because she refuses to have any kind of contact with me.
Now, do you know where they are now?
I do have the address. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Did she move after you all separated?
Yes, we were living in West Texas, and she picked up and left without a word.
I guess maybe I need a time frame of where you all. So you were together in West Texas. She left. At some point, you left also because I think you said you were not in West Texas.
Yes, ma'am.
Christmas of 2022, and then you went back to West Texas.
Correct. I just recently moved back out here.
Okay.
Now, what kind of visitation are you requesting, Mr. Wood? Do you think it'd be in the best interest of your children?
I mean, I kind of agree with the stair stepping everything that way because I don't want to just throw them back into the middle of all this. Their safety and their mental well being is all I'm worried about. I want them to be as comfortable as possible, and I'll do whatever I have to do in order to make that happen. That's my whole goal here.
So you would be okay with six visitations at each level?
My only concern with that is the distance I'm having to travel. It's 8.5 hours away. It's it's quite extensive. And then my job, I work a lot. These past 2 weeks I've had 128 hours. That's going to be a lot.
What are you proposing that you would be able to do?
I mean, like I said, I'll do whatever I have to do. So whatever the court rules, that's what I'll do. Just that's a lot of supervised visits for a couple hours at a time, a weekend or whatever, just to drive 8 hours.
So are you requesting to start to visit with the kids for all day?
I mean,
at the first level, say from 9 to 6 all day, and then go to the overnight one nights before you take them off?
I would be completely fine with that. If we could start, I mean, that's still starting out slow enough in my outlook of it. I mean, they are my kids, and like I said, I've been trying to have contact with them for this long, and I haven't got anything.
So as far as her address being in there, do you have anything to say about any safety concerns?
I mean, not necessarily safety, except for the fact that, like I said, she does have a felony warrant for her arrest. If she gets picked up on this, on a traffic violation or anything, what's going to happen to my kids?
Do you know what they're alleging she did?
She went on the run from probation.
Do you know what she's on probation for?
Bribery.
Bribery or robbery? I'm sorry.
Bribery.
Bribery.
That's out of Walker County?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I have no more questions of Mr. Wood at this time.
The state doesn't represent either of you, so I'm going to give you both a chance to speak. It looks like I'll start with Ms. Towns. It looks like you have something you do want to say. So,
Ms. Towns expresses confusion about the probation issues and seems more focused on ensuring that the visitation process is handled smoothly. She wants to minimize conflict and make sure that her children have a positive relationship with their father.
Now's your chance.
I'm not entirely sure what's going on with the probation part of it. I'm going to call myself and figure that out because that's new news to my ears because I was just at a courthouse and dealing. This makes no sense. That part of it I will handle because I don't run from the law. That's not. As far as I want to do what is best for my kids. I want him in their life. I just want it done peacefully. I don't want whatever issues we had to be brought up because none of that matters anymore. I just want them to be comfortable and happy. And whatever we need to do to get that there, that's...
She suggests that supervised visits be reduced and eventually transitioned to unsupervised visits, demonstrating a willingness to cooperate and find a resolution.
my concern. On the supervised visitations, is there any way that we could go down to maybe 2 visits of supervised and then we can go to all day?
Who would be supervising the who do you propose would be supervising these visits, Ms. Towns?
I'm not entirely sure how that works. I really don't. I didn't know that I needed to pick somebody. I didn't know if they went to like a...
Well, there's no list for me. And so typically I pick people that people know, because you all don't know who I know. And there's no like organization. And there are some organizations, but they're very expensive. So there are cases I do order it through an organization, but it's usually very extreme circumstances. So I usually try to start with who you all are comfortable with, and both of you. I'm not just asking her, Mr. Wood, please know that. And so when I'm asking you, it's, I don't know who you all know. I don't know who you all are comfortable with. The court doesn't provide supervisors. So
honestly, okay, I know that he's not going to show up here and start beating anybody up or nothing. He's not going to do that. But it's not safety. It's confrontation that gets...
But even confrontation, it doesn't seem like you would then be the appropriate supervisor if you two, butt heads.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm asking, do I need to pick like a mutual person?
That would be ideal. Someone who you're both comfortable with, who is comfortable with both of you, who won't bring any of your, like you were saying, like the stuff between you two doesn't need to be brought into his visits, especially these early ones when it's, we're trying to build the relationship back up between them. So ideally it wouldn't have any of this stuff involved at all. It would just be, Dad's here, let's do something fun. And let's, learn to love our dad. So yeah, ideally it'd be someone that you're both comfortable with, that the kids are comfortable with, that is not, like Miss Towns is right or he's right, like just someone who wants what's best for the kids. That's who we really want. No one who's holding a grudge against either of you, who can move past all this would be an ideal person, if that exists.
The judge is trying to balance the needs and concerns of both parents while ensuring the children's well-being. The judge orders that Mr. Wood's visits with the children be supervised initially by his brother. This is to ensure that the visits are safe and that both parents can gradually rebuild trust.
My brother.
Do you know his brother?
I do know his brother.
Do you trust his brother to move past whatever happened?
I do.
Okay. And he treats you okay? He doesn't?
Yes.
Okay. And does his brother live near you, Miss Towns?
I am not sure where he lives at anymore, to be honest.
He lives in Hockley.
How do you logistically want that to happen with your brother being in Hockley? Like what?
I'm pretty sure that I could get him to go pick the kids up or have them meet or something to, that way we're not butting heads in front of the kids and everything else. Because again, that's not what I'm trying to do. My main goal is to make sure the kids are okay and they're happy, and that as a father, that is all I'm concerned about. My brother, we've already talked before this. He said he would do whatever he has to do to make sure everything's kosher. His fiance is actually a paralegal also. I don't know. I'm okay with whatever the court's okay with.
The judge encourages both parties to propose and agree on convenient locations for exchanges and suggests meeting in public places like Walmart to avoid direct confrontations.
And ma'am, what are you comfortable doing to make those visits logistically workable?
I'm comfortable with meeting. I can
somewhere
drop off with.
Where would you all want to meet up?
The Walmart parking lot is fine. Okay.
I don't have any problems with what Megan's got going on. I can look past all of our stuff. She's worried about me blowing up or whatever she's worried about. I've had their address for going on some months now, and I haven't showed up there not once. I'm trying to do everything the right way and trying to do right by my kids. So, eventually we're both going to have to grow up and learn how to get along with each other because we have children together. I hope it doesn't have to go on like this forever.
I don't want it to. I don't,
Okay.
I didn't,
So what do you want for, like, how do you want to do pickup and drop offs past the supervised phase? What are you all proposing?
No, I mean, if her and I can meet in public, or I can go there, or wherever, however it needs to happen is, I'm not opposed to it.
I don't want it to be like this forever. I don't want any animosity. I don't want any fighting. After these supervised visits, we can meet in town, meet in the middle, whatever we have to do.
So you all need to ideally you two would pick a location that you're both happy with.
Right.
So, and I guess we need it in the order, unfortunately, which is why these hearings kind of get belabored. Do you all want, let's have you all look and propose locations and see if you can come to an agreement on it.
Because like I said, I live 8.5 hours away.
I know.
If
be
she
hard.
can meet me, Dallas is probably my halfway point, in between here and there. If we can meet in Dallas or something somewhere, when I do get the kids, that would be fantastic.
My only problem with meeting halfway right now would be I have an oil leak in my car, so I can't drive very far. I'm working on getting that fixed. But right now I can't even drive to Conroe. The furthest I could be able to drive would be to Humble to meet Kaysen. Now, granted, that's a ways from now, so it should be fixed. Other than that, I mean, I would be willing to meet halfway unless something were to happen, and then I would send proof and let him know what was going on, and we would figure it out from there. Is that okay?
I'm fine with that, because I mean I'm having car issues myself, so I kind of understand that.
I mean, I'm not trying. I want to do this the right way. I'm ready for it to all be over so that they can be happy. So
another thing I am requesting though is if some FaceTime visitation, phone calls, or anything like that.
The judge sets a detailed visitation schedule, starting with supervised visits and moving towards more flexible arrangements as the relationship between Mr. Wood and the children strengthens.
Is there a night during the week that would work well for you, ma'am, to let them do some FaceTime?
I can do that.
Okay, what night would work best? And I know over time you're going to probably have to change it, but as the kids get older, they'll also be able to do some of this on their own.
Would Wednesday night be okay?
Yeah, that'll work.
Between 7 and 7:30 is fine because I'll be done with dinner and everything.
The first phase is going to be the first, third, and fifth Saturdays supervised from 1 to 5, supervised by his brother.
First, third, and what? I'm sorry.
Fifth Saturdays, supervised by his brother with that pickup at the Walmart.
Okay.
The second
Is that for
phase,
two times?
two visits. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
And then after that, you're going to jump to the 8 to 5 unsupervised. You still want to pick up at the Walmart for now. Once you get past these phases,
Yeah.
I'm going to move you to something else. Okay, so the Walmart exchange. And how many visits do you want of these 8 to 5 unsupervised?
We can do. We'll say 4. Is that
Okay, Mr. Wood?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, and then after that, you're going to move to 6 p.m. Saturday to 6 p.m. Sunday
9
unsupervised.
a.m. 9 a.m. Saturday. It's usually a day and a half.
Are you sure?
I think so.
I don't know why it's not, to be honest, but I don't think it is. I'm okay with that though.
okay? What is it?
So you're proposing 8 a.m. Saturday to 6 p.m. Sunday?
I was 9 a.m. Just
9 okay.
9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sunday.
Okay.
I'm gonna need one night overnights before we go into standard visitation.
We can do 4.
So that's visitation. I'll approve the joint managing conservatorship with Ms. Towns having the right to determine the primary residence within the state of Texas. Paternity will be established for, it started with a B. What was her name?
Bristol.
Bristol, that's it. And her last name, I'm not even sure what
Wood.
it is. Wood. Is it already Wood?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just leave her last name Wood.
The judge orders Mr. Wood to pay child support and back child support, along with medical expenses. This helps ensure that both parents contribute to the financial needs of their children.
Support amounts you all agreed to, I will approve in order. It was $610 a month child support and $100 a month cash medical.
Did you have a ruling on the retro?
One moment. Let me make sure I catch everything. The non-disclosure, I'm going to deny. How many months is she asking for total? This is from January 2022 to now. Okay. I'm going to order $5,000 in back child support, and I'm going to order him to pay that back at the rate of $60 each month, beginning October 1st, 2023. And I'll order Mr. Wood to pay court costs by March 31st, 2024.
During the modified, they'll be meeting at the Walmart at 6626 FM 1960 in Humble, Texas. Is that correct?
I believe so.
And then the Buc-ee's on I-45, 1402 South Interstate Highway 45, Ennis, Texas, for the rest of them.
That's for the standard, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Once they get to standard, once he's able to leave the Houston metro area. Does anyone have any questions?
No, Mom.
The Attorney General's office.
But it's not about this. Mine is pertaining their Medicaid.
I'll let you talk to the Attorney General's office when we're done here, and they can probably answer that or possibly not answer it. I don't know. Depending on what the question is, they might not be able to. But they will be drafting up an order based on my ruling today, and they'll be sending it to me to review and sign off on and make sure it matches the ruling. And then they'll be sending you a copy for your records. Okay. So, I'm sorry, sir.
After my 90-day probationary period's up at my job, I will be adding them to my insurance. So
As soon as you do that, immediately let us know. Give us a copy of the insurance card and showing that they're on it and the date they were put on it.
Unless I could talk to them this weekend, that would be great. But
I can do that.
Did you hear that, sir?
yes.
Okay. So yeah, he'll officially start on the 30th because it is logistical. It requires some thought. And then, yeah, if he can talk to them before then, that would be great.
Alrighty.
Okay. Thank you so much.
While Mr. Wood works towards more time with his kids, Matthew Fenton is just beginning his journey as a newly confirmed father, facing resistance from Amy Hewitt.
This originated as a complaint to establish parentage filed by the District Attorney's Child Support Office, if I understand correctly.
Yes.
And paternity having been established, this is a motion to set visitation. You are Amy Susan Hewitt. Ms. Hewitt, you understand why we're here today?
Yes.
Matthew Fenton, the biological father, seeks visitation rights with his child, whom he was recently confirmed to be the father of. The mother, Amy Hewitt, has expressed reservations about allowing him unsupervised visitation, citing concerns about his past behavior and his ability to care for their child, who has autism and other special needs.
Well, first and foremost, let me tell you that there's a motion that has been filed to set visitation, and that motion was set for hearing today. You have not yet filed any sort of response to that motion as far as this record reflects. Have you filed anything in writing?
I don't have an attorney.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that. The child support DA is not going to represent you in this matter because that's not their job. They only handle the child support action. But you have the right to hire an attorney of your own choosing if you choose to do so. The question is whether or not you are planning to do that. Guardian ad litems are not automatically awarded because of the simple fact that if I appoint a guardian ad litem, there has to be, number one, a valid basis for the appointment of a guardian ad litem. Number two, it has to do with who is going to pay for the guardian ad litem's fees. They don't do it for free. Usually there's an attorney that's appointed, and that attorney expects to be paid according to that. And in a civil case, most of the time the guardian ad litem is paid by either one or both of the parties. So it would be an expense to you and to Mr. Fenton. So paternity was just established in May of this year.
Matthew Fenton, despite being confirmed as the father, has faced challenges in establishing a relationship with his child. His paternity was only established recently, and he is now fighting for the right to have regular visitation.
According to the file, it says that on May 20th of 2024, court held that the father was the biological father of the minor child. Well, I cannot simply because you asked me to appoint a guardian ad litem. Now, as far as the CASA, you have every right if that's what you choose to do, but that is not something that the court normally orders as well. you have opposition to Mr. Fenton having visitation with a minor child? Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to conduct a hearing of sorts, and I'm going to hear from him about what he's asking me to do, and because he set this motion, and then I'll hear from you about what your reasons are. What you're stating is really testimony, and I need that to be under oath. So we'll have this hearing, and then when I've had the hearing, I'll make a decision on what, if any, visitation or whether to appoint a guardian ad litem at that point, okay? All right, just have a seat at that table, please. All right, Mr. Murphy, you wish to put on proof?
Yes, Your Honor. We would call our client, Matthew Fenton. to
Mr.
stand.
Fenton, step around, please, and have a seat in the witness stand. So,
Could you please state and spell your full name for the record?
Matthew Christopher Fenton, MATTHEWFENTON.
And Mr. Fenton, are you the co-parent? Are you a co-parent of the Amy Susan Hewitt?
Yes, sir.
Both of you have a child together?
Yes, sir.
How old is the child?
He turned 3 February 28.
He's expressed a strong desire to be involved in his child's life, highlighting that he has made efforts to visit and provide for the child, including driving long distances and offering financial support.
And you're here today because you would like to begin visitation with the child, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you made
you're
any,
going to have to speak into that microphone a little bit more.
Yes, sir.
have you made any efforts thus far to get visitation?
Yes. She allowed me to come on 3 visits.
Who is she?
Miss Hewitt allowed me to come 3 different times after March 25th when I was, I'd taken a DNA test, and I went to her house after 12 noon. I stayed until 7 2 times, and then the 3rd time I stayed until 9 p.m. My mom, that's just turned 82 years old, she went twice. That's the only 2 times she's ever seen him. We just would like rights. I was never told the truth. I was told that it was another man's child, that she had DNA tested the father. I came in when he was born, or when his expected date was February 24th, 2021. I was working in Virginia, and I drove in from out of state, 8 hours away, and Miss Hewitt told me that it was not my child, that she had DNA tested the father, that it had nothing to do with me. I never heard anything back, and I don't know. I believed her. I've never had a child before. This is my only child. I'd just like to, be involved in his life and get to visit him.
Fenton's primary struggle is the lack of access to his child, which has been further complicated by accusations from Whit and the need for supervised visits.
Has Miss Hewitt refused you visitation at any point?
Yes, sir.
Tell us about that.
I went 3 times. Well, we had the court hearing, and it said documents that you have there, Mr. Wolf signed off that I should receive reasonable visitation. And I highlighted it and sent a copy to Miss Hewitt and asked her for visitation. I even really wanted to get him for Father's Day, because I'd already missed a few. And I drove down and went to the district attorney's office that day and spoke with the child support lady as well. And, she told me to contact my attorney, and then I came on to the courthouse. But yeah, she will not allow me to see him, and told me not to come back to her house. And that pretty much happened when I filed for visitation rights.
Did you advise her that that was part of the court order?
Yes, sir.
Looks like alternate residential parent, non-custodial parents will have reasonable visitation privileges. Did you tell her about that?
Yes, sir.
What was her response?
She doesn't care.
And you did give her a copy of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You just heard her make some claims just now when she appeared up here at the podium about criminal charges and all sorts of other things. Do you have any kind of response to that?
Yeah, I don't have a criminal record. I've worked on federal projects for the last 23 years since I was 18. I'm currently doing a Send Elements battery recycling facility, which is government backed and is a federal project. I take random drug tests and more than happy to take one right now today in court. I don't even have a bad driving record. Nothing's on that as well. So.
Where do you live at?
I live in Scottsville, Kentucky for the last 16 years. It'll be 17 years in April of next year.
Okay. Just so we just understand how this would work. How would you propose, visitation work if you being out of Kentucky and her being here in Tennessee?
I'm more than happy to make the drive to come pick my son up and drop him back off. Just whatever it takes to see my son.
You just want to start seeing your son again?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Have you taken a parenting class recently?
Yes, sir. I have a completion, but it's on my phone. I don't have it printed off. But
You don't have a physical copy, but you did complete it?
Yes, sir. And
This morning?
I emailed it to you as well. So we can get that, you know.
So you'd be happy to late file it if we have to?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Those were all my questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Fenton.
Hewitt, you are representing yourself at this hearing. You have the right to ask questions of this witness. I'm going to give you a chance to testify if you want to testify, but do you have questions that you want to ask of this witness? You're not required to ask questions. I'm just giving you the opportunity. If you want to ask questions, they must be in question form, and it must relate to some issue that's before the court. Do you want to ask him any questions about what he's testified to?
I gave you time with Ashton supervised at my house, right?
I took him every time that I was there, and your daughter.
And supervised
eat.
and with your mom.
No, I mean, the first time wasn't. My mom wasn't with me.
You just testified your mom came with you.
Twice.
Yeah.
The one
And
time,
she-
the first time I came alone, and I took him to the auto parts store to get parts to fix your car because it was broken down. And I came back on my first visit and fixed it so you had transportation. And then also gave her money to get insurance and to get her tax for her vehicle so they would have a reliable vehicle and transportation.
I never denied you that I seeing him at my house supervised, right?
Yeah,
I denied you.
the messages I have say not to come
I've got
back.
all of them printed out along from your ex-wife too,
Okay, I mean, I don't.
where
You shouldn't have, I don't see,
the reason is he's autistic, nonverbal. You've known about him since day one.
Number one, you're testifying now. I'm going to give you a chance to
Sorry.
testify, but you are not required. I mean, you cannot make statements and testify at this point.
Well, CPS has been involved with him in the past and his ex-wife.
And again, you're testifying, and I'm not going
I'm
to allow you
sorry,
to do
okay.
that until you take the stand, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you. Step down. Oh, let me ask you a couple of questions.
yes, sir.
You're asking for visitation at this point, but in the petition that you filed, you asked to be made the primary residential parent for this child. You aware of that?
Sir,
In other words, you want to be the person who has full custody of the child and she has visitation,
yes, sir.
even though you've not had but 3 visits with this child since he's been born.
Well, I mean, I'd like to make up for lost time and at least have, split visitation with him where, I mean, he's taken to me very well. I mean,
No, she's made statements several times about this child having some special needs. Are you aware of any special needs that your son has?
yeah, he's nonverbal. He doesn't speak, but I'm able to teach him stuff pretty easy.
And he's 3 years old.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right. Anything further, Mr. Murphy? Thank you, sir. Step down. Mr. Murphy, you may call your next witness. All right. Ms. Hewitt, do you want to tell me why you don't want to let him have visitation? Then come up, raise your right hand, let's place you under oath.
Amy Hewitt's reactions reveal a deep-seated anxiety about Fenton's role as a father. She has voiced concerns about his past behavior, which she describes as erratic, and his ability to manage their child's special needs.
He has a bad history, and I've got proof from his sister, his ex-wife.
Well, number one, let me explain to you that this is a court of law. That means you can't just get up and say you've talked to somebody and they've told you things. You have to have those people come in as witnesses and testify themselves of their own direct knowledge. Otherwise, what they say would be considered to be hearsay. In other words, we could have witnesses come in all day long and say, well, Joe Blow out here told me that the father is a terrible human being and he does this or does that. So it's not sufficient for you to bring in statements of other people who supposedly have knowledge. You would have to have some sort of testimony from them in person so that Mr. Murphy, representing your child's father, would have the opportunity to then cross-examine them to determine whether or not they're being truthful or not truthful. That's the way the system works. So.
Get in they're sealed court documents, but if I his ex told me she would resend them to me.
Again, Mr. Murphy's objecting to you saying what
So I
his
would need
ex-wife.
her,
When I'm talking to you, just be quiet, okay?
sorry.
When Mr. Murphy is objecting to you saying what the ex-wife said, which is the very reason that I've explained to you, that it's considered to be hearsay, a statement by someone made outside of the court that you're bringing in to prove the truth of what's in that statement. That's classic hearsay and it's not admitted. So tell me, other than what someone told you, what knowledge do you have? First of all, what kind of relationship did you and Mr. Fenton have before you became pregnant?
I was best friends with his sister and we grew up together.
Okay.
I love his mom, love his sister. They had warned me prior.
How long did you and Mr. Fenton have a relationship?
It was 3 months until he started acting erratic.
When you say, if you saw something that he was doing erratically, tell me what you saw that you think was erratic.
Driving crazy, screaming, scaring me and my daughter, cussing, throwing things.
And why were those things happening?
Be honest, I don't know.
Were you and he having an argument?
Not at all.
Was he under the influence of some substance? You have any knowledge of that, or are you just assuming that?
I have knowledge from being around past family members with the same issues and talking to his sister and mother and them informing me. You know.
Again, Mr. Murphy is
sorry.
objecting, so I'm sustaining his objection. I won't allow you to testify about what they said. So you become pregnant. Did that end your relationship, or did you stay together after you became pregnant?
Well, I've got my messages in his, but he didn't want to stay. He just dropped off the earth because I wouldn't uproot my children and go live in a travel trailer while he worked out of state.
So when did you and he stop having a relationship?
I was 4 months pregnant.
All right. From 4 months pregnant until March of this year, did he ever see or have any contact with this child?
No.
Okay. Did you ever refuse him to have contact
No.
with the again, just wait till I'm finished. Did you ever refuse to let him have contact with your son before that March date that he's referred to?
No, sir.
Did he ever contact you before he was served with a petition to establish paternity and to set child support? Did he ever contact you and ask for visitation?
No, sir.
All right. So the first time he asked for visitation was after you and he had been to court over the child support?
Yeah, it's
All right.
about,
And then you allowed him to have supervised visitation, come into your house, being with your child, correct?
yes, and his
All
mother.
right. And his mother came along too?
Yes.
Is there any reason why you would not allow him to have that type of visitation right now?
Hewitt argues that Fenton lacks experience and is unsure if he can meet the child's needs without supervision. This apprehension has led to her insistence on supervised visits and reluctance to allow overnight stays, which she feels could endanger her child.
I never said that I told him he could come to my house supervised.
Tell me about your son. What issues does your son have?
He's got a rare heart condition, Epstein's anomaly, pulmonary hypertension. And then he's nonverbal autistic. He gets therapy through the week and PK3
Where does he get therapy?
at pre-K with special services. He's started at TEIS, Tennessee Early Intervention,
Okay.
from birth. And then we moved over with the Board of Education when he turned 3. And he goes to school during the week and he gets OT, PT, speech, ABA,
And where does he go to school?
Oakmont.
Oakmont. What I'm understanding you to say is that you have concerns on what people have told you about Mr. Fenton and his past, but that you would be willing to let him have visitation at your home.
I would be willing to let him, if I was there, just not
Well, that's what
him
I'm
take.
talking
Yes,
about.
sir.
But you don't want him taking the child away at this point.
No, sir.
All right. Anything else you want to tell me about, other than what somebody may have told you? Is there anything else you want to tell me about your son? or
He's
Mr.
my
Fenton?
world.
You understand that
Judge Wolf has approached the situation with a balanced perspective. He acknowledges Fenton's right as a father to have visitation and aims to establish a fair compromise.
when he was held to be the father by when he was held to be the father by the child support magistrate, then that means he has certain rights under the law, that he has a right as a father to see this child, his son. The only question, you don't get to have it both ways. You don't get to have, for example, the child support paid but no visitation, absent a finding that he poses an immediate and serious harm, threat of harm to your son. In other words, if you establish paternity, those rights go with the child support obligation. He has a right to see the child. So the question is, do you understand he has a right as a father to visit with his son?
Yes, and I never denied him seeing him.
Okay.
And I've raised a 22-year-old with autism who's in college, successful, works at Walgreens as a pharmacy tech. I've got a 12-year-old with autism also. Like, I've done this a long time, and I've known him a long time, and he wouldn't be safe.
Mr. Murphy, you have any questions?
Let me ask you some questions. First off, I think you made it pretty clear. You said you're not opposed to him having visitation with the child. Is that correct?
I never was. As long as it was supervised, I was there.
Okay, what exactly are your concerns as far as him being able to have the child at his house?
Number one, he's never raised a child or been in his life for 3 years. He doesn't know him. I mean, just because he puts his hands up to him, he does it to any man because he's not around men.
So how much time would you say would be needed to get to know the child before you'd be comfortable at that stage?
With him, what stage?
With him actually having a child at his house?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I mean, he's autistic and nonverbal, and I mean, he's a complete stranger.
Have you given Mr. Fenton the opportunity to assist with the child's autistic and nonverbal needs?
I was more than willing. The only reason I objected to anything was when he told me to have him ready Friday night, and then he would drop him back off on Monday. That's when I cut it off.
What do you mean that's when you cut it off?
That's when I cut it off. I was like, you're not taking my child out of state that can't even tell me when something's wrong. You've never raised a child. You have no idea what this is like, much less with autism and his heart condition. He's never been a night away from me.
Okay, but I think, is there a point to where you have to understand he has parenting rights to this child just like you do, right?
Yes.
So is there a point to where you'd be willing to agree, okay, yeah, you can take him overnight?
We would have to see if it would, I don't know.
Okay. Judge, let me see if my client has any questions other than that.
All right, thank you, ma'am. You may step down and have a seat at the table. Mr. Murphy, do you say you have something else?
Yes.
All right, call your witness.
Could you please state and spell your full name for the record?
Elena Page Reimers, ALAINAREMERS.
Ms. Reimers, do you know Mr. Fenton?
I do.
How do you know him?
He's my mom's boyfriend.
Has he raised you at any point?
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit about that?
He's raised me since I was 12 and provided me with everything that I've needed.
Do you and him have a father-daughter relationship?
I would say so, yes.
What would you say about that experience as him acting like your father?
Done more than what my actual father could have.
You've never seen him have any kind of drug problems or
No.
any criminal activities?
No.
Okay. All right. You think, based on what you've seen, he'd have any problem raising a 3-year-old child?
No.
Okay. Those will be all my questions, Your Honor.
You have any questions for this witness? You have a seat, please. You testified about that, but to your knowledge, has Mr. Fenton ever dealt with an autistic child that's 3 years of age that's nonverbal?
No.
Okay. Thank you. You can step down. Any other witnesses, Mr. Murphy? Do you have any other witnesses you wish to call?
The judge has set a temporary visitation schedule, starting with supervised visits that will gradually increase in frequency and duration. The goal is to give Fenton the chance to bond with his child and prove his capability as a parent, while also ensuring that the child's special needs are appropriately managed.
All right. This is a temporary hearing on a motion to establish some sort of visitation. The order that established Mr. Fenton's paternity of this child was entered by the child support magistrate on May 20th of 2024. And at that time, the order that was entered was entered based on the failure of the plaintiff to appear, which was Mrs. Hewitt. And nonetheless, it was entered that there would be a child, there would be a establishment of paternity, and that he was found to be the father, that the primary residential parent would be the mother, and that the defendant, as the alternate residential parent, would have reasonable visitation privileges. So it has been established, and what is reasonable to one person is not always reasonable to the other, and that's one of the problems with reasonable visitation. The court finds that it is based upon the distance between these parties, that it is reasonable for Mr. Fenton to have visitation at Mrs. Hewitt's or Miss Hewitt's home for a period of noon until 9 o'clock on every Saturday. Well, we'll make it one Saturday, and then alternate week will be Sunday, and that will continue for a period of 90 days. Following that, he will have visitation consisting of all day, and it will no longer be supervised. In other words, I'm going to graduate that to, it'll go from 8 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock or 6 o'clock that night, and it'll be day long, and he'll be allowed at that point to remove the child. After 90 days of every week having the child, visiting with the child, we'll assume that there is a problem, that there is no problem, and he'd be able to have the child and go that. That's all I'm going to do on a temporary basis. That will be continuing, and he'll have that child 1 week on Saturday, 1 week on Sunday, but he'll see it weekly because I'm trying to establish a bond between him and the child. This is a difficult situation because of the child's special needs. If you want to consult the CASA people to see whether or not they can assist you in that regard, but there's no evidence before me to indicate that there is any problem with Mr. Fenton as a father, and you can expect that barring something, this will gradually increase to become a lot more like a normal visitation situation. But a lot of that depends on whether or not Mr. Fenton is able to handle dealing with this young man, and whether or not the child adjusts to being away from you, and the special needs that he has are a question for the court. So I'm going to order this as a temporary basis, and then subject to review. If the parties can't work out an agreement, Mr. Murphy, you can revisit this motion. And Ms. All right, thank you. And Ms. Hewitt, if you consult with the CASA people and they are able to give you some assistance, then, you know, we can, this is a temporary order, which means it doesn't, you know, if the child has an adverse reaction, and again, I'm going to encourage you in order as a part of this that both parties will work to encourage the visitation being as smooth and beneficial to the child, and not create an environment where the child is hesitant to go with his father. So it's part of it's going to be your job is to try to make him comfortable with going to see his father. But if there is an issue, then it can always come back before the court, me or one of the other judges. All right, thank you.
These cases show how tough and emotional family court can be. Whether it's about keeping kids safe or dealing with personal issues, the court tries to do what's best for the children.